Greetings and welcome to the Culture Ward, where we dissect and dismember pop culture in all its forms. Before we begin, please take a second to hit that subscribe button and help us grow the channel. Join the conversation in the comments below, and don't forget to like and share the video if you enjoy the content. Thank you for joining us once again for the weekly wrap-up, where we dive into some recent pop culture news without exerting too much effort. As always, let us know if there's any important stories we missed. Now let's get into it. American Eagle. Is that a clothing company? Apparently, American Eagle Outfitters was founded by Jerry and Mark Silverman, with the first store opening in Novi, Michigan in 1977. Originally, the brand was focused on outdoor leisure apparel, such as clothing and accessories for activities such as hiking, camping, and mountain climbing. Throughout the 1980s, the company experienced steady growth, amassing 137 locations in 36 states by the end of the decade. However, growth slowed and they experienced financial troubles in the early 90s, so they sold the company to new owners who shifted the company focus to casual clothing, selling private label clothes. This new direction turned out to be a success, with American Eagle continuing to grow for most of the next 30 years, today boasting more than 1,100 locations across the globe. I remember this store from my younger days when shopping malls were still dominating the retail landscape. Never really my style. I was never much of a preppy Abercrombie & Fitch county seat kind of guy, and I never really heard or hear people talk about American Eagle as a brand. It just never seemed to have a huge pop culture footprint. Honestly, if I thought of them at all over the last 30 years, I thought they were probably defunct, like so many other mall-centric brands. But nope, somehow they have continued to grow, even as their native habitat, malls, is rapidly disappearing. And all that to say that American Eagle still exists as a clothing brand and retail store chain. And they're still in the business of selling their clothes to the public. In order to maintain and grow their sales, they, like virtually every other company in the world, occasionally engages in something experts refer to as advertising, which is defined as, quote, describing or drawing attention to a product, service, or event in a public medium in order to promote sales or attendance. Now, you've probably seen other companies advertise, usually on those big things on the side of the road we call billboards, or colorful and eye-catching ads in magazines, newspapers, web pages, or, perhaps most commonly, in things we sometimes refer to as commercials, which are short-ish video segments promoting a product, usually seen periodically during, for example, television shows or YouTube videos, if you don't have an ad blocker. And they are especially important during the Super Bowl for some reason. Well, it turns out this company, American Eagle Outfitters, recently produced a series of commercials that, like many other companies have done throughout the history of the medium, features a celebrity to endorse the product, which apparently has been an effective marketing strategy in the past. In this particular instance, they hired Sydney Sweeney, who I'm told is considered attractive by many people, due in part to, well, a couple of things. Sweeney began acting, usually in small roles, in her early teens back in 2009, when she appeared in an episode each of Heroes and Criminal Minds. And she continued getting small roles until her breakout in the HBO show Euphoria in 2019, where she played the promiscuous teenager Cassie Howard, although she was 22 at the time. Since then, she has appeared in multiple films and television shows and has become an important figure in pop culture, notably being named on Forbes' 30 Under 30 celebrity list in 2023. And one of the things that is talked about most frequently is her looks. She's considered conventionally attractive by most standards, and her attractiveness is often inflated due to her own style of body positivity. You see, Sydney Sweeney has never been afraid to exploit her attractive qualities, which itself is a kind of rebellion in recent years. The era of body positivity was never meant to include people who are conventionally attractive, and because Sydney co-opted the movement to show off her own body, she has more than once invited the ire of the TikTok generation. And look, I haven't seen Sydney Sweeney in many things, but she's obviously good-looking, feminine, and healthy. She's also apparently a good, well-rounded person. She was class valedictorian, she was in the math and robotics club, she likes classic cars and even restored a 65 Mustang, which I think you can see in one of the commercials. And she's obviously ambitious and hardworking. Which brings us to the current drama that is breaking the internet and the brains of stupid people. In the latest American ad campaign, Sydney is presented, rather provocatively, dressed in American Eagle denim, and she delivers a voiceover talking about genes, genetics, about how kids inherit their genes from their parents and so forth. And then she makes the pun that she has good genes, Geans, which is the theme of the entire ad campaign. Sydney Sweeney has good genes. Let's take a look at the ads first.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has very genes.
I'm not here to tell you to buy American Eagle jeans. And I definitely won't say that they're the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. Or that they make your butt look amazing. Why would I need to do that? But if you said that you want to buy the jeans, I'm not going to stop you. But just so we're clear, this is not me telling you to buy American Eagle jeans.
Sydney Sweeney has very genes.
You see what I did there, right?
That's it. Gene puns. Conflating Sydney's good genes, genetics, because she's an attractive and smart and successful lady, with jeans, denim clothing. And oh my God, the outrage. Now Sydney Sweeney and American Eagle are Nazis. They're being called Nazis. So let's take a look at some of these ridiculous statements, shall we?
You guys are complaining about that Sydney Sweeney jeans ad, so I went and saw it. That's Nazi propaganda. Wow. I thought it was gonna be kind of bad. That's gonna be in history book.
Don't forget to boycott American Eagle for their racist shit online, talking about blue jeans and white people. Boycott American Eagle and cancel this person, Miss Sweeney. Cancel for her being racist, for doing Nazi propaganda. Cancel American Eagle.
Should we be surprised that a company whose name is literally American Eagle is making fascist propaganda like this? Probably not, but it's still really shocking. Like, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman is talking about her good genes. Like, that is Nazi propaganda.
Yep, that got me too. And I don't know why. Maybe because it's just so blatant. I keep thinking that people just are not gonna believe us until we're hung out there, but then even then I feel like they'll be like, oh no, kind of like they are with
I don't even know what to say that hasn't already been said over and over. The cancel mob are getting desperate, I guess. Changing sensibilities over the past several months, a slow but apparent journey toward normalcy, has these rage monsters hungry for a scandal, I guess. And they found it in a blue jean ad with an attractive woman and gene puns. It's kind of a weird situation. On the one hand, they're screeching because a lot of guys, and even women, find Sydney Sweeney attractive. And they don't like that people are paying attention to attractive people again. For years, they've been pushing body positivity on the culture, trying to convince folks that conventionally unattractive people are hot too, including specifically women who are morbidly obese. They tried this social engineering to get people to change their tastes, and they've been supported by Hollywood and the media, who have incessantly decried the male gaze and sought to desexualize women in media. They really don't like attractive people being attractive. On the other hand, they're furious that Sydney Sweeney, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, attractive person, is claiming to have good genes, suggesting that it's some Nazi propaganda calling for the purity of the Aryan race or something. In so doing, though, they seem to be admitting, at least tacitly, that a blonde-haired and blue-eyed person is some sort of superior specimen, and all the other people that don't have this extremely rare phenotype are lesser. The funny thing is that this ad would work with any attractive person, regardless of their hair, eye, or skin color. Halle Berry, even in her late 50s, is a beautiful woman who obviously has good genes. If the ad had featured her saying the exact same thing, would it be offensive? Maybe, but probably not as much. Anyway, I just don't get the outrage brigade. Don't they realize that stupid shit like this makes normal people roll their eyes in exasperation? People are tired of the constant tantrums from the perennially offended, and it's one of several reasons why there is a cultural shift away from woke and PC nonsense, a return to moderated sensibilities, and even a sense of humor. And while part of me wants to scream at these sad, pathetic woke tards to shut the fuck up and lighten up, the other part of me is saying, let them cook. Their own performative, perpetual victimhood, spewing verbal diarrhea at any perceived slight, just accelerates our return to societal rationality. So keep it up, I guess. And American Eagle agrees. Since this ad drop and the resulting meltdown, American Eagle has actually seen a significant increase in stock value. According to this article, quote, there were whispers of the Sweeney campaign starting July 22nd, and American Eagle stock closed at $10.19 that day. It's now sitting at $11.74 as of July 29th when this article was written. So that was about a 15% increase in stock price since all this stupid controversy began, which also increased American Eagle's market cap by over $400 million. And people are talking about American Eagle a lot. I mean, what more could a company want from an ad campaign? So to all the hypersensitive, perpetually offended people out there calling for boycotts on American Eagle, I say, well played, losers. Keep up the good work. What do you think? Are you outraged that Sydney Sweeney made a jeans pun in an American Eagle ad? Join the conversation in the comments below. So, 2025 has definitely been a franchise-heavy year at the box office. Nearly every major release this year has been a sequel, a remake, a reboot, or a new entry in an established franchise. Starting the year off with Captain America: Brave New World, which is a sequel to the Captain American series and the 36th entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Then there was Snow White, the live-action remake of an animated classic. Then there was the Thunderbolts, which is the 37th entry in the MCU. Final Destination Bloodlines, the 6th installment in the Final Destination series. Lilo and Stitch, another live-action remake. Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning, a sequel. Karate Kid Legends, a sequel and/or reboot. How to Train Your Dragon, another live-action remake. 28 Years Later, a sequel. Megan 2.0, a sequel. Jurassic World Rebirth, a sequel/reboot. Superman, Fantastic Four, Smurfs, I Know What You Did Last Summer. And there's more to come. Even the smaller franchises have fallen victim to the same nostalgia-baiting, cash-grab sequelitis, including Happy Gilmore, which probably surprised me the most so far. So quickly, Happy Gilmore, which released in 1996, was a rather absurdist comedy about the title character, played by Adam Sandler, trying to become a hockey player but not being very good at it. He did, however, have a great slap shot. And when his grandmother's house is being seized for back taxes, Happy Gilmore has to find a way to make money to save it. He accidentally finds out that his great hockey shot means he can hit a golf ball really far, and he ends up joining the Pro Tour, which leads to hilarious antics on the golf course. It's a classic tale of a fish out of water, a loud, raucous, violent hockey player invading the quiet and refined tranquility of professional golf.
Fuck this shit, fuck me in the ass. Fuck you, you stupid cunt, monkey, licking fuck that. Sorry.
It's a hilarious movie that showcased Adam Sandler's physical comedy at the height of his popularity, and is one of my favorite comedies of the 90s. Cut to 29 years later, and Happy Gilmore 2 is released on Netflix, and it seemed to come out of nowhere. I know I didn't see a lot of marketing or buzz about this movie. Anyway, it dropped, quietly, straight to streaming on July 25th. Warning, some light spoilers ahead. The new movie picks up almost 30 years after the original, and in an opening montage we see that Happy continued to be a successful golfer for several years, got married to Virginia Vinet, who was the love interest in the first movie. They had a bunch of kids, and then roughly 10 years before the start of the movie, tragedy occurred when Happy hit his wife with a golf ball, killing her, causing him to swear off golf forever. Then more bad luck happens when he loses his fortune and has to struggle to pay the bills and care for his 5 children, and he becomes a raging alcoholic. So when the movie opens, his 4 sons are all grown, working regular jobs and living at home with their dad, helping to support him. Now the boys are pretty funny. All of them are like pre-golf happy, all loud and uncouth, and they love hockey and fighting. He also has a daughter who's still in high school and is a talented dancer. She wants to go to an elite dance school that costs a lot of money, so just as in the first movie, Happy has to find a way to make a bunch of money. And well, long story short, he returns to golf. The driving conflict in this movie is that a new promoter is trying to make golf more popular with a new extreme-type league that would cater to a more casual audience. And Happy has to help a supporting cast of real-world pro golfers playing fictionalized versions of themselves to beat the new golf league and save the sport. Kind of a reversal of expectations from the first movie. It's shallow and predictable, but it works as motivation to keep Happy Gilmore in the game. The movie has plenty of returning cast, including Christopher McDonald as Shooter McGavin, Ben Stiller as Hal, the abusive orderly from the first movie turned abusive AA counselor in this one, and, rather briefly, Julie Bowen as Virginia Bennett. Now, supposedly Sandler had originally written a part for Carl Weathers, who played his mentor Chubbs Peterson in the original, before he sadly passed this past year, which caused some pretty big rewrites. He now appears in archival footage throughout the movie, and Lavelle Crawford plays Slim Peterson, Chubb's son, who helps Happy and has some of the funniest moments in the movie. And apparently Sandler's own children and wife appeared in the movie as well. And well, it was apparently a hit. Alright, so according to this article, Happy Gilmore 2 gets the biggest US opening of any Netflix movie ever. So Adam Sandler has been making Netflix money for years, but he's never had a success quite as large as Happy Gilmore 2. The comedy sequel debuted on the streaming service on July 25th, and over just 3 days, it accumulated 46.7 million views, where views are defined as the number of hours the movie was watched divided by its runtime. That makes it the biggest opening weekend of all time in the US for a Netflix original film. Perhaps unsurprisingly, it's also a personal best for Sandler, who has made a number of movies for Netflix since the streamer started investing in original content. The movie was number 1 on Netflix over the weekend, and the original Happy Gilmore was the 3rd most popular movie on the streaming service. It just goes on to tell you that Happy Gilmore comes almost 30 years after the original film, which first hit theaters in '96. In the sequel, Happy retires from golf following a tragic accident, only returns after he learns he needs to find a way to finance the tuition for his daughter's dance school. So, a lot of people tuned in, and it broke Netflix streaming records. Now, it's not breaking any critical records, but critics and audiences generally liked it. While coming nowhere near the heights and ingenuity of its predecessor, Happy Gilmore 2 is still a blast, with every cameo tuned directly into Sandler's comedic frequency. Will make fans of the first movie smile and does not besmirch the legacy of Happy Gilmore. Golf fans will have a lot of fun seeing their favorites act silly, while comedy fans will get some good laughs, but it will never be as good as the first. I agree with that. Gilmore 2 is everything you'd want in a sequel to the Sandler classic, as well as a few things you can do without. And that's probably true also. It's a well-directed exercise in nostalgia, a comedy that respects its roots, and a reminder of why certain characters deserve a second look. It delivers some occasional laughs while also telling a surprisingly compelling story about what might have become of Happy Gilmore 30 years on. A lovable sequel channels the same goofy ridiculousness which would become synonymous with Adam Sandler's cinematic output. So, I agree with most of those. And I have to say, I kind of liked it. While it's obviously nowhere near as funny and original as the first one, I mean, how could it be? It was nevertheless surprisingly refreshing. The premise is kind of stupid, but again, it kind of has to be. It's a Happy Gilmore sequel. And the plot and story aren't breaking any new ground, but I found that none of that really matters. What mattered most is that it's pretty funny. In addition to comedy, it's also got some great nostalgia-fueled moments, including some rather touching tributes, and it was a sweet story with a positive and uplifting message. So while I wasn't moved to tears or left pondering its implications for days or weeks to come, I did leave the movie feeling pretty good. In other words, it put me in my happy place, at least for a little while. And well, that's all I needed from this movie. It's probably the best Happy Gilmore sequel anyone could have hoped for. Not high praise, I know, but low praise for an Adam Sandler comedy in 2025 is still a refreshing change. What about you? Did you watch the new Happy Gilmore sequel on Netflix? What did you think? Join the conversation in the comments below. Alright, I'm not going to go into the whole year of the franchise spiel again. We know 2025 has been non-stop sequels, reboots, and remakes, with studios capitalizing on brand recognition and nostalgia bait. And the biggest movies of the year fall right into that category, including two of the most anticipated reboots in recent memory, James Gunn's Superman and Fantastic Four: First Steps. Now these two movies are from two opposing studios, Warner Brothers versus Disney, developed from rival comic book publishers, DC versus Marvel. They exist in different cinematic universes, the DCU versus the MCU. They have different tones and different stories, yet they also share striking similarities. First and foremost, they're both legacy comic properties brought to life on the big screen. Superman first appeared in comics in 1938 and basically launched the superhero comic genre, becoming DC's first recognizable hero. Fantastic Four first appeared in 1961, although the Human Torch was originally created in a different context in 1939 in Marvel Comics #1, which was published under the Timely Publications label, Marvel's predecessor. Fantastic Four basically reinvented the comic genre, introducing storytelling that appealed to more adult readers, with characters that were more relatable and humanized, and they were Marvel's first recognizable heroes. Both Superman and the Fantastic Four have been adapted into live-action films before. Superman first appeared in a feature-length movie in 1951 with the low-budget B-movie Superman and the Mole Men, starring George Reeves. Then again in 1978, the Richard Donner-directed Superman premiered, starring Christopher Reeve as the titular character. That was followed by 3 direct sequels in the 1980s. After a 19-year hiatus, there was an attempt to reboot the series in 2006 with Bryan Singer's Superman Returns, starring Brandon Routh, and then again with Zack Snyder's Man of Steel in 2013, starring Henry Cavill as Superman. Cavill's Superman then appeared in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice in 2016 and Justice League in 2017 as part of the DC Extended Universe, or DCEU. Fantastic Four's first appearance in a feature film was supposed to be the Roger Corman-led, low-budget adaptation in 1994 by the German company Constantin Films, which was allegedly only made to retain their rights to the characters and which was never officially released. Then in 2005, after Fox acquired the rights, they produced the Fantastic Four led by Tim Story, starring Ioan Gruffudd as Reed Richards, Jessica Alba as Sue Storm, Michael Chiklis as Ben Grimm, and a young pre-Captain America Chris Evans as Johnny Storm. This was followed by a direct sequel in 2007 called Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, with the same cast reprising their roles. There was an attempt to reboot the franchise in 2015 with the Fantastic Four, stylized as Fant Four Stick, directed by Josh Trank and starring Miles Teller, Kate Mara, Jamie Bell, and Michael B. Jordan. It was, unfortunately, a crime against humanity. Both Superman and Fantastic Four are attempts to completely reboot the franchises and revive them as ongoing series. Superman, directed by James Gunn, brings in David Corenswet to play Superman/Clark Kent, with Rachel Brosnahan playing Lois Lane and Nicholas Hoult playing Lex Luthor. Fantastic Four reboots with Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Richards, they're already married at the start of the film, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, and Eben Moss-Backrack as Ben Grimm/The Thing. Both films also have a lot riding on their success. Superman is the first film in the new rebooted DCU under the leadership of James Gunn and Peter Safran, and is needed to build hype around the new cinematic universe after the rather unsatisfying performance of the prior DCEU. Similarly, Fantastic Four is kind of important. One, to rescue Marvel after a string of disappointments, including 2 other MCU movies released this year that both flopped, Captain America: Brave New World and The Thunderbolts, and 2, to launch Phase 6 of the MCU and build hype for the next big Marvel team-up movie, Avengers: Doomsday, which is currently scheduled to release in December of 2026, directed by the Russo brothers and featuring the return of Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. In a sense, Fantastic Four: First Steps is kind of relaunching the MCU. And finally, despite both movies receiving overall praise, being fairly well accepted by audiences and critics alike, the box office numbers, especially internationally, aren't looking too great. Heading into this weekend, Superman has brought in $300 million domestic, but only $225 million international, for a total worldwide gross of about $525 million. Fantastic Four, heading into its sophomore weekend, is sitting at $158 million domestic and slightly less than $100 million international, for a worldwide total of $257 million. With projections for the Fantastic Four to face a 55+% drop from its debut, It's expected to add somewhere between 45 and 55 million domestic. If the same holds true internationally, maybe an additional 40 million, bringing the totals to about 210 domestic and 140 million international for a 2-week haul of about 350 million. At that rate, unless something changes, it'll be lucky to hit 500 million globally. The bottom line is that those numbers don't look great for what was supposed to be the 2 biggest blockbusters of the season, both of which are crucial to drive their respective brands into the future. Superman is tracking behind Man of Steel from 2013, which went on to make 670 million globally. Hell, the Fantastic Four is tracking behind even weak Marvel movies like Ant-Man Quantumania. And what seems to be killing both of these movies is those international numbers. Look at Jurassic World Rebirth, which is dominating both of these movies, currently looking at 728 million globally. And look at the breakdown. Superman is closing in on Jurassic World's domestic total already, but internationally, Jurassic World is crushing it, with the international proportion at about 57% compared to Superman's 42%. Likewise, look at Lilo and Stitch, which has crossed the $1 billion mark. And once again, look at those international numbers. 58% of the total sales. Fantastic Four's international numbers, so far anyway, are even worse, holding at about 38% of the box office. For some reason, people overseas just aren't watching Superman or the Fantastic Four. And it really is a shame, because both of these movies are pretty damn good in my opinion. Warning, some light spoilers ahead. Let's talk about Superman first. So, Rotten Tomatoes scores show about an 83% critic score and 91% audience score for James Gunn's latest effort. It's colorful, action-packed, fast-paced, and has a hopeful and uplifting message. It looks pretty good. Some of the effects are a little half-baked, but overall I enjoyed the visual style. It's very comic book-like. The story is a bit crowded. There's very little downtime, with the action rarely taking a break, and some of the emotional moments are interrupted with James Gunn humor. However, I will say, despite some critical reviews I've seen, I thought the humor was toned down a fair amount. This was much less James Gunn's Suicide Squad and more James Gunn Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Emotional moments did have room to breathe, for the most part, and a lot of the humor felt organic, character-driven. Most importantly for me, though, was Superman himself. While I take off points for the simplistic story, busy plot, and frenetic pacing, the character of Superman was really good. David Corenswet not only looks the part, he seemed to be channeling Christopher Reeve, and he did a good job embodying the noble, brave, and kind-hearted character that Superman is supposed to be. He is the protector of humanity, just and merciful, and James Gunn's Superman nails that character. I was a little less impressed with Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor, but I don't think it was his fault. He was too intense, too serious, too high-strung. I prefer a more Gene Hackman-style Lex Luthor, more in control of his emotions. And light spoilers here, as for the big controversial plot twist with Superman's birth parents Jor-El and Laura being space Nazis, while I hate that concept philosophically, I don't know if it matters in context of the movie. Either Lex or the engineer somehow altered the message and it's all a fake, or the Kryptonians, a super advanced civilization, considered humans to be a primitive race that would benefit from Kryptonian influence and some Kryptonian eugenics. But regardless of the truth, Superman is the better man. He has Earth morals, and he soundly rejects that way of thinking. So who cares what his ethno-fascist birth parents wanted? At any rate, I like the movie. I give it a 7 out of 10. Now to Fantastic Four First Steps. And once again, critics and audiences liked it, with a 86% critic score and 92% audience rating. A lot of people like this one better than Superman, and I get it. The first thing I'll say about it is how good it looks. I think, and this may be a little recency bias, that it's the best looking movie in the MCU, and one of the best looking movies I've seen, period, in a long time. The aesthetic, the 1960s retro-futuristic design, was really attractive and very well executed. The set design, likewise, making heavy use of practical effects, was rock solid, and even the shot composition, actual direction from the director, something that we usually don't even consider in these big spectacle movies, was impressive. Matt Shakman actually took the time to set up his shots and paid attention to detail in order to make a movie that is visually appealing all around. Even the special effects, something Marvel films in particular have been suffering from lately, look good, possibly due to the heavy mix of practical and digital effects. And man, Galactus, the first live-action depiction of him looking like the classic comic book villain, is truly a sight to behold. So from a pure visual standpoint, Fantastic Four is a winner. The plot and story are, basically, the story from Fantastic Four Comics issues 48 to 50 from 1966, the Coming of Galactus story arc, which is one of the best story arcs in comic history. They changed some things for the film, probably for the worse, but it was still a compelling enough story. There's a scene when the team flies to space to meet Galactus and negotiate. They fail, and their resulting escape from Galactus is one of the most riveting sequences in MCU history. Great action, great character moments, great direction. It's a little weird that Sue went on the mission, though, considering she was very pregnant, but the payoff of having her giving birth during an escape through a wormhole was an emotionally poignant moment and worth the suspension of disbelief. Not everything was perfect, though. First, let's talk about the female Silver Surfer. Her name is Shala Ball, and she is a legacy character in the comics. However, she is not the Silver Surfer. She appeared as the Silver Surfer in a few pages throughout 60 years of comics, but Norrin Radd was always the Silver Surfer throughout hundreds, maybe thousands of appearances, including multiple ongoing series of his own. After seeing the movie, I kind of get why they made her, so Johnny can have kind of a crush on her, I guess. But that whole plot point could have been rewritten to accommodate the actual Silver Surfer with about one page of changes. And she looks weird. Not only is the CG kind of unsatisfying, but she has hair. She has metal hair. It kind of flips up in the back, and it looks ridiculous. All that being said, it didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but I still think the main reason she's there is for identity politics, so I do resent them for that. Also, Pedro Pascal is Reed Richards. I'm so sick of this guy. He's got to be the most overexposed actor in Hollywood, and he just comes across as creepy, unsettling even. He doesn't look like Reed Richards, and he doesn't exactly act like Reed Richards. But the way he's written in the movie, he does a fine job. As weird as he is, he actually knows how to act. The rest of the cast was great. Vanessa Kirby turned in a great performance. Joseph Quinn was a very good Johnny Storm. And Eben Moss Backrack does a passable Ben Grimm, even though we don't get enough of the Thing in this movie. Overall, the cast is fine. I do think that if they had cast anyone other than Pedro as Reed, the movie would have made more money, especially with families. I had some other reservations with specific scenes and plot points, such as Sue Storm's speech, Reed Richards' press conference, and the girl power moments near the end, but the good definitely outweighed the bad. I also give Fantastic Four First Steps a 7 out of 10. So which one did I like more, Superman or Fantastic Four? Well, neither. I know it's a chicken shit answer, but I like different things about each of them and dislike different things as well. They were both adequate adaptations of the source material, and both were thoroughly enjoyable big-budget summer fun-time movies. The question is, will that be enough to carry these franchises into a successful future? For that, only time will tell. Well, what did you think of James Gunn's Superman and Fantastic Four First Steps? Which one did you like more? Join the conversation in the comments below. And that brings us to the end of another installment of the weekly wrap-up here in the Culture Ward. What did you think of the news stories? Are there any other stories you want us to delve into next time? Let us know in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching the video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Bye for now. We hope to see you next time in the Culture Ward.